What's up, Lakers fans? It's your host, Rance Gardner, with the LakersSource podcast, episode 1. The goal here is I'm going to try to bring you guys a podcast. Well, I'm not going to try, I am going to do it. I'm going to bring you guys a podcast each week. We're going to recap all the news for the week for the Los Angeles Lakers, all the rumors, the drafts coming up, so we've got a lot to talk about with that, all the players that we could see the Lakers pick. Even talk about, potential trades we could make with that second pick or some of the other young players we have to try to go out there and get that illustrious star that we've heard our front office talk so much about. So there's a lot to cover, and I know over the next few weeks and leading into the off season, we're definitely going to have plenty to discuss. So I just want to jump right into it right now. Let's start with the big news of the week. Lakers keep their pick. Such a huge thing for the Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, I was sweating bullets whenever it came up and they were dropping the ping pong balls there in New York. I knew Magic was bringing some magic with him, so I felt confident about it, but, you still never know. So what happens? It falls down to the 2 spot. Lakers get the second pick in the draft, and for the third year in a row, we're going to have the second pick. We've had a really good opportunity to be able to stack some talent, stack some really good young players over the past few drafts. That being said, I hope this is the last time that we have to draft in the top 5, even the top 10. I hope for the next few years, for the foreseeable future, we don't have to draft anywhere near there again. With that being said, there are a lot of great players in this draft if we do decide to keep that pick. All the buzz is obviously around Lonzo Ball. What he brings to the team, what he brings to the marketing aspect of the team. I saw a lot of people talking on social media the last couple of days, making some really good points about the marketing aspect of it, that, Lakers right now don't have a bona fide star. They don't have a bona fide face of the team. Magic Johnson right now is the face of the team, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but we need a face, that's on court. And, we all hope that, either D'Angelo Russell or Brandon Ingram or Julius Randle can grow into that someday. Right now, we just don't have it. So, with that being said, we've got Lonzo Ball in this upcoming draft. If we take Lonzo Ball, that automatically gives us some marketability before he ever even steps on the court. It's kind of like I'm not trying to compare Lonzo Ball with LeBron James, but we all remember the hype that LeBron James had coming out of high school. For Christ's sakes, he had a $100 million contract pretty much before he ever played an NBA game. So with Lonzo Ball, I feel it's the same kind of hype. I'm not at all comparing their styles of play or their skill, but it's the same thing. So I feel that if the Lakers do make that decision and do decide to draft Lonzo Ball, there'll be plenty for the media to talk about. I know the Lakers media partners, the business partners, Time Warner with their TV deal, I know they'll like that because there's going to be eyes on the Lakers. Whether it's people that are hoping that he's the next Magic Johnson, the next star, the next player that puts the Lakers back on the map, or if it's people that want to see him fail. Either way, there's going to be a lot of people interested in Los Angeles Lakers games again, and we won't see those games on TNT or ESPN getting bumped off of national TV like we've seen the last year or two, which is very frustrating, to be quite honest. That has kind of made me mad to see that happen. It's really frustrating to be a Lakers fan and to see your team get bumped off national TV because you're the product that's on the court. Not fun times. But, we're all loyal Lakers fans, and it's always darkest before the dawn, and I think the dark times are over. I think we are in a new era, new changes in the front office, new additions through this draft and the off season with some new key points. Or some new key pickups. I don't think that we're going to make a big splash in free agency. I could see us make a big splash in a trade, but not in free agency. I think not Michael Jordan. Thank God we don't have MJ. MJ was a great player, but he has not been that great of a front office guy. Anyways, we got Magic in the front office now, and I think that we can see some really good stuff happen this offseason, and I think he's laid out his plan as far as free agents go, that he's going to try to save the cap space for next summer whenever we've got, if Paul George doesn't get traded, we've got Paul George free agent next summer, we got Boogie Cousins a free agent next summer, we've also got Russell Westbrook if he decides to opt out, some other really good pieces that are available next summer. Those are just the first three that come to mind. Really star level, all-star, all NBA guys. Even though Paul George didn't make the All NBA team this year, which sucks for him, but it's good for the Lakers because that gives Indiana less ammo to be able to keep him there for a contract. I don't know the exact numbers. I've heard different figures thrown out there that he loses 30 million in a scenario for not being picked on the All NBA team, or it's 75 million in a different scenario for not being picked on the All NBA team. Either way, if he's not traded, he's a free agent next summer, so I do think we preserve that cap space this summer. But I do think we do make a couple additions. I could see us look in the market for a big, a center that can go in there and compete with Zubac. I don't think that Mozgov is going to be around. I mean, we might have to eat the salary on his contract. We might have to. Same thing with Deng. I'm hoping that we can somehow, this might not be the popular choice because I know, Jordan Clarkson and Larry Nance are so well loved, and everybody pretty much likes them a lot around the LA community, and especially Lakers fans around the world. They tend to like those guys a lot. So it sucks to have to trade one of those, but if there's an opportunity that presents itself to get rid of, Clarkson and Deng to someone to shed Deng's contract, because that automatically right there would free up another spot for a star player to come in next summer. So, just thinking of that scenario, if we preserve our cap space this year, get rid of either Maz or Deng, free up another spot, we potentially next summer could go after, Paul George and Cousins, and not have to trade any of our real core guys. And and just to get this straight, when I refer to the core guys, I'm thinking of, D'Angelo, I'm thinking of Julius, I'm thinking of Ingram, I'm thinking of Zubac, and even the number 2 pick, whoever we do, to say if we do keep that pick, which I anticipate we do, because I think there's a good chance we could sign Paul George next summer, even if we don't make a lot of trades. And speaking of rumors, like I said, we're going to talk about rumors on here. I don't care if it's just some rumblings. That's what fans, they love it. We love it. We're all Lakers fans, and anytime there's any kind of rumbling over the last few years, that's what we've enjoyed more than the seasons themselves, unfortunately. So, we're going to get into some rumblings, and one of the rumblings is I've been hearing is that Paul George has actually relayed a message through his agents or his people, his entourage, whatever you want to call them, to tell the Lakers not to make any significant trades for him this year because he wants the core intact if he does decide to come next summer. So, that'd be a huge win-win for the Lakers if they can keep all of those, 4 or 5 key players I just named and add a Paul George. That automatically puts us into playoff contention right there. It's not, obviously Golden State and Cleveland's still going to have, a pretty good stronghold on the championship picture, but that time's going to come to an end here in a couple of years for those teams. And right whenever the Lakers, I think, start getting really good, especially the young guys, and Paul George can help speed that process up with his leadership and his talent and just giving those players that competition in practice. I think that the Lakers could be competing 3 years from now. I think it's very realistic, especially if we make a Paul George signing next summer and add a Cousins or a Westbrook's really, that's reaching. I don't think Westbrook's necessarily as realistic as a Cousins and a Paul George, but you never know. He's from LA and it could happen. So that's something I have been seeing. I've seen that Paul George. I mean, when there's smoke, there's fire, and there's a lot of smoke with the Paul George rumors. There's stuff almost daily coming out. I mean, I saw earlier today that another report came out and it says that he is, reportedly confident that he can be the savior for the Lakers. He can be the one that turns it all around, and I think he wants that pressure. And I think that's Lakers fans should really be taking note to that. If a guy we've been kind of turned down, we've been rejected by some of the top guys over the past few years. I mean, hell, we couldn't even get a meeting with Kevin Durant, and what other kind of slap in the face can you get from a player that we can't even get a meeting? Even if they're not going to sign. At least Aldridge gave us a meeting, even if Bitch and Jim botched the meeting. we couldn't even get one with Durant. So to hear Paul George just really, hopeful and sounding really positive about his chances in LA, and it sounds like he's up to the challenge and he wants to come in and be that guy, be that star that the Lakers need to, lead this franchise back to the promised land and what we're all used to, which is winning games. And we have not won a lot of games over the past few years, as everyone knows. So, hearing stuff like that, that's really good. Here's another one. I'm seeing Lakers Nation reported earlier today that Paul George believes he can lift the Lakers, quote, out of darkness. So that's like I said, that's exciting. That's cool. It's really, really, really cool that we've got a player that actually might want to come here and help us get to that level of excellence that we're so used to. Back to the draft. As far as who I would like us to see and keep with that number 2 pick, assuming that we're going to keep it and we're going to wait till next summer to do any big moves. I think Lonzo Ball's talent is there as far as being a playmaker, a distributor, a general, a floor general. I look at him as being kind of a quarterback. He could be the quarterback for this team. And one of the most I'm a huge D'Angelo Russell fan. I was pounding the floor for the Lakers to draft him whenever they did draft him, and I like D'Lo. D'Lo's shown a lot of promise. He's shown that he could be an elite player in this league in flashes. My biggest frustration with D'Angelo Russell has been that he has not been the true point guard. He has not been, the distributor. He hasn't shown those incredible passes that he's shown in college. And, maybe it's a speed thing. Maybe those gaps close quicker in the NBA. There's a lot of different things. It could be, that early on he tried some of those passes, and I do remember him attempting those in early in his rookie year. And you obviously had Byron Scott telling him, good advice, bad advice. I don't know. He was very critical of D'Angelo Russell, and he still is today. Back to rumors. Actually, this isn't even a rumor. I saw earlier today that he said on air that the Lakers should look to trade D'Angelo Russell. So I don't know if Byron and D'Angelo ever gelled. But anyways, D'Angelo's passing ability is there. It's really good. He's an incredible passer. I mean, you've seen it. We've seen it. We've all seen it at different times. Him make some just flat passes that are just unreal. But like I said, my biggest frustration is that he doesn't do that more. I wish that he could find a balance of scoring, shooting, and being able to make the people around him better. I feel like Brandon Ingram will the more he develops, he'll be able to get his own. He's got the length, he's got the skills to be able to. We saw him in the second half of the season driving to the basket, dunking on everybody. It was awesome. There was a stretch there for a couple months. I felt like that at least once a night we would see Brandon Ingram take it to the rack and just jam it on somebody or multiple people, or he'd just make a play that and I saw Luke say this, Luke Walton. He said that there's one time a night at least that Brandon will make a play that no one else can make, and you just are like, wow, that's the future. That's what this guy could do on a more consistent basis throughout a game and really be a difference maker. So I think he'll get his, but as far as someone like Julius and Zubats, I think those guys, to get to their next level, need somebody that can get them easy looks. Julius is incredibly athletic, so having him dive to the basket, with somebody like a Lonzo Ball, or if D'Angelo Russell were to, look to pass a little bit more, as far as, I'm not saying he's a ball hog, I mean just look to actually get the offense going and get his players more involved, and really look to getting those players going before he looks to get himself going, if that makes sense. I think somebody like Lonzo Ball could make Julius Randle really good. I think he could make Zubac really good. I think he could Zubats. Sounded like I said Zubox, but yeah, I meant to say Zubats. Ivica. I feel like Lonzo could make those guys really good, and I think he could speed up their development a lot. And even somebody like Nance, I feel like Lonzo Ball could make Nance. We could see Lob City 2.0 if we get Lonzo out there throwing alley oops to Zubats and Randall and Ingram and Nance. We're looking. It could be, and don't want to get too far ahead of myself because I'm not like some huge. I won't say I'm not a big Lonzo Ball stan, but I see the potential he has to be a floor general and to really take this offense to the next level, especially in the transition game. And he could bring back Showtime. That's the potential that a lot of people believe he has, is to just right from day one come out there, and even if he doesn't, because everybody knows he's got an awkward shot and he might not be the best scorer off the dribble. But I think from day one, everybody realizes that he can come in and instantly change the way the Lakers run their offense. He could, make it a lot easier for the guys around him. Other than Lonzo Ball, obviously we've got, Markelle Fultz. Markelle Fultz is kind of I think multiple people have said this, so it's not my ideas, but it's what I saw with my own eyes. I felt like he's, a Damian Lillard type. He's a scorer. He reminds me a little bit of Westbrook. He's not as explosive, I would say, or athletic, but he's got that same kind of build. He's got that. He kind of, moves like Westbrook a little bit. Maybe not as quick right now. He's also a lot younger, and Westbrook wasn't as explosive as he is now right off the bat coming out of college. He was still a freak athlete, but not as strong as he is now. So I think that Fultz could, potentially become something like a Westbrook, but I think he's more like maybe a Damian Lillard, and I think he's really good. So if something happens in Boston, who has the first pick, they decide not to trade their pick, and they decide to take, let's say they take Lonzo Ball at number one, or they take Josh Jackson at number one. The Lakers then have a tough decision to make between Fultz and Ball, and I really couldn't. I'd have to sit down and I'd have to deliberate and talk with, if I was Luke Walton or Magic Johnson, I'd have to talk with all of my guys, my associates. I'd have to sit down with Rob Pelinka and Luke and Jesse and all the assistant coaches and front office guys and really dissect, the debate of Lonzo Ball versus Markelle Fultz and what they can do for the Lakers. Be a tough decision, but if we do, or let's just say Lonzo's gone by the first pick, Boston takes him, and we're looking at a Markelle Fultz. I think he could help the Lakers a lot too. I think he can play both positions, either point guard or two guard, and I think him and D'Angelo could coexist. Although I will admit that I believe that Lonzo Ball and D'Angelo could probably coexist a lot better because Lonzo Ball looks to get others going first and before he's trying to force anything for himself. But I think Fultz and Russell could work out just fine as well, and I think they'd be a pretty crazy scoring combo guard tandem. It could be exciting. So moving on from, we've talked about Lonzo Ball, talked about Markelle Fultz. So let's look at someone else that, everybody keeps talking about, and that's De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox, the point guard out of Kentucky. And we all saw, at least most of us saw during the tournament, he dropped 39 points on Lonzo Ball and pretty much took it to Lonzo Ball right in front of Magic Johnson, who was in the crowd. And I believe Rob Pelinka was there too. So, they saw De'Aaron Fox put on an absolute display against Lonzo Ball, so I'm sure that's still, and from the reports and stuff I'm hearing, and there's even articles saying, I saw the crossover earlier today post an article from Sports Illustrated saying that like the Lakers, this is why the Lakers should draft De'Aaron Fox and not Lonzo Ball. And I'm going to pull that up right now and kind of go over kind of what it says and see exactly, what their points they're making are here and see if we can't break that down a little bit. But obviously De'Aaron Fox is a freak athlete too. He's explosive, he's fast, he is a terror in the open court and on the fast break, and he's long. He can really, and he does things with his footwork. He's got an incredible Euro step. He does things with his footwork to get the space he needs to get the easy looks, and he really doesn't have a great jump shot. He can shoot a little bit, He doesn't have a great jump shot, but once he gets within, 12 feet, he's got floaters that are really, he just shoots at a high percentage. He finishes at a high percentage. Um, at least from what I can tell, I might be completely wrong as far as percentages go, but I haven't broke down the numbers on the percentages. But from just my passing the eye test, I'm a kind of a big Kentucky basketball fan, so um, I watched a lot of those games that he played in this year, and he seems like he plays at a speed, faster than everybody else on the court. So they got a tough decision to make there. And like I said, Magic saw that game in person wherever he, I'll say it, he lit up Lonzo Ball. Still sticks in my mind. So if it sticks in my mind, and I'm just, an armchair analyst, if you will, uh, I know Rob Pelinka and Magic Johnson are thinking about that. So going back to the De'Aaron Fox versus Lonzo Ball, um, and they make some pretty good points. I mean, everybody knows about LeVar Ball. LeVar Ball he is a marketing madman, and whether he is just truly turned up to 11 at all times for Lonzo Ball, or he's just saying things to stay in the media and acting the way he does and saying the things he does to get talked about, which is smart. Some people would say it's a smart way to keep yourself, on people's minds. Any publicity is good publicity in some people's minds. So, um, you know, they make a good point here. The SI article does, saying that if anything, the noise surrounding Lonzo's dad has helped distract people from the valid questions about the UCLA Stars game. As a prospect, he's got a high floor, bigger Ricky Rubio. And that's what I've thought of, and that's a really good point. I was going to bring that up when I was talking about Lonzo Ball. I haven't, other than his size and his athleticism, what stands out? And please comment in the comments, leave comments for me, and I'll reply to you guys. What you think Lonzo Ball really brings to the table different than what Ricky Rubio does? Obviously he's more athletic. He's Ricky Rubio was never dunking on people. Lonzo has had some pretty monster dunks in college, at least. Um, there's reasons to be skeptical about his ceiling. They say, quote, "We never really saw him score in the half court. It's not clear that he can create his own shot against NBA athletes. While he's incredible in transition, pushing the pace will be tougher in the NBA than it was in the Pac-12. His shooting numbers are good, but they begin to look a little more questionable upon closer investigation. His work in the pick and roll is underwhelming. Defensively, he's long enough to potentially hold his own, but he doesn't have the athleticism to excel on that end." It says the Lakers should take De'Aaron Fox. He is worlds better on defense. His jumper remains a work in progress, but his speed will allow him to drive defenses crazy. And that's what I was saying by whenever I was watching him. He truly does seem like he plays at a speed much faster than anybody else does. Um, he's a flash out there. He is fast. He is a blur, and I think it'd be a good nickname for him, De'Aaron the Blur Fox. Um, he plays incredibly hard. This is talking about Fox again, and with his athleticism, it feels like he's only scratching the surface of what he could be in 5 years. The writer also says, "I won't lean too heavily on the two UCLA Kentucky games this year with respect to Ball, but if nothing else, they said a lot about what Fox can do. He got the better of Lonzo in that game and in the first match, and he flat out roasted him in their second match. Fox also fits with the other pieces in LA. He's not a pure scorer, but the plan is to get that scoring from D'Angelo Russell, Brandon Ingram, and or a max free agent that comes later. In the meantime, while Russell has shown real promise as an off-ball scorer, his defense is still an issue, and Fox can help mitigate that damage. Playing Lonzo and D'Angelo in the backcourt would do the opposite. They're both a step slow, and neither player seems particularly invested in locking anyone down." So that makes some good points there. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not some pro De'Aaron Fox or anti Lonzo guy. I can see the benefits they both would bring the Lakers, and I think if the Lakers took either one of them, they'd be happy with them. But they make some really good points. So moving on, we'll move on from De'Aaron Fox a little bit and talk about one more player before we wrap up today. I'd like to talk about Josh Jackson from Kansas. Here's your kind of more prototypical size, two guards. He's almost like a swing shooting guard, small forward. He can easily play both positions. I've seen people compare him to his ceiling. He could become a Jimmy Butler. I know his jump shot needed working on a lot at the beginning of the season, but you could tell that he was in the gym working on it, making it better as the season went on, and his shot got a lot better, especially from 3-point range in the second half of the year for Kansas. He is a lockdown defender. He is a guy that instantly, the day he gets on the court with the Lakers, would make our defense better. And that's something, and I also saw that someone was asking Magic in an interview the other day. They were like, "So Magic, what do you think? Who are you gonna take? If you got Markelle Fultz, if you got De'Aaron Fox, you got Lonzo, who are you gonna take?" And Magic was quick to, interject and say, "Hey, we've also got Josh Jackson. We want to work out Josh Jackson too, and see what he's got." So Magic sees what what Jackson could bring to the team as well. So I think instantly he's a defensive threat. He's well rounded. He's a guy that can do everything. He gets steals, he gets blocks, he gets rebounds, he can score in the transition. He's strong, uh, play great defense, can score in the post. He's got an improving jumper. All these guys are young. But at the same time, look at Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram's jump shot was wet in college. I mean, he was stroking shots left and right in college, and then he gets to the NBA and struggles a bit last year. Whether it was, and I thought Ingram's biggest problem was the way he set his feet. I could always tell. I'm not bragging or blowing smoke up my own rear or anything like that, but I could always tell when Brandon Ingram was going to make a shot or miss a shot based on how he placed his feet and where his feet were when he shot. If sometimes he would kick his feet out weird. He wouldn't square up. I could just look at his feet and be like, well, this is going in or it's not. And I don't know if it was because he was excited, he was rushing his shot. If another thing I considered is how much they had him in the weight room in the off season, and I know from personal experience and from other people that I played basketball with in high school and other people that I knew that went on to play in college and a couple friends I have that play in the NBA that they all struggled with that when they went to the weight room and started really hitting the weights hard to get better, get stronger for that next level of competition. They all had to work on their jump shot again. There was many times where they would be very very good at shooting shots, shooting 3-pointers, whatever it was, free throw shooting even. And then as soon as they hit the weight room and they've got to get stronger, it can mess things up a little bit. So whether Ingram has that issue or it's his footwork, whatever it is, I think he can work on it and he'll get it back to what it was in college. But anyways, my point about Josh Jackson is he can work on it. He can do the little things. You saw improvement, so if he keeps working on that, obviously it's common sense says that his jump shot will get better, especially if he's willing to work hard at it. And he seemed like he had a good work ethic. If you judge by how he plays on the court, he always plays hard. So if he works out as hard as he plays, then I think he'll be fine and he'll be in good shape. Obviously there's been a little off court issue that he had with the whole threatening a female student or athlete, whatever she was, because they got into some kind of altercation. But it didn't seem like it was too big of a deal. I think it was just people getting heated at each other and saying things they don't really mean. But other than that, I don't know of any other off-court issues he has. But I think he'd be a great addition to the Lakers too. I think the Lakers are in a really good spot. I think this draft's deep, especially in the top 5 or 6 players. I think we're in a great spot. I think especially if we can, if we feel really confident or we somehow have the information that Paul George wants to come next summer, we don't have to make a trade, and we get to stack another asset at the second pick. Get a Lonzo Ball, a De'Aaron Fox, a Josh Jackson, a Markelle Fultz. Any of those players make the Lakers better. I think they'll all be good players. I think a couple of them have higher ceilings than the others, but I think they all would bring their own unique thing to the Lakers and make us better. Well, that wraps up our first episode of LakersSource podcast. I'm your host, Rance Gardner. I want to thank you guys for joining me. If you guys got any ideas for the next episode, go ahead and shoot me a comment in the message. Follow me on Twitter at LakersSource. That's at LakersSource. Peace.